Well, hello and welcome to Zwift Live. This is our weekly feature on Zwift Live for community racing. I'm your host, Nathan Guerra, and today we're back in with the Zwift Racing League. We're out on race number 4 in round number 2 of the Zwift Racing League, presented by WTRL. Remember, you can join anytime. It's open all season. You can't register a team, but you can jump into a team, so go on and find a team. Usually the Facebook group's a good place to put in for recruitment. Today on December 3rd, it's team time trial for the triple flat loops. Pretty long course out there today. We'll take a look at the course in just a minute. But quick reminder, next week, December 10th, it will be a points race on the Keith Hill after party. That's going to be an interesting one, that's for sure. Points with plenty of climbing. Tough course next week, but let's go ahead and bring in our co-host, our usual host with the most. It is going to be Dave Toll. Dave, it's great to see you.
Thanks, Nathan. I'm stoked to be here. I love a good team time trial. We got the perfect course. You said it was a little bit long today. Yeah, I'd agree with that, but ideal day for team time trial racing. Let's see if anybody's going to come for Aeonian out here in our women's race.
That's a good question. Let's take a quick look at the course. Triple flat loops, one lap, 36.3 kilometers, 22.6 miles, 162 meters of climbing, or 531 feet. As you can see, we head on over through the Fuego Flats into the Titans Grove, but it cuts off down to Ocean Boulevard. Head on over to traditional Watopia, past the piers and through the Essies the first time. Then we head on over to the Volcano, the Essies a second time. Then we're going to wrap on over back to Ocean Boulevard, and it's going to be back over toward Fuego Flats, though, and it's reverse Ocean Boulevard, and you just finish over on Fuego Flats where you started, Dave. So looks a little bumpy, but that's mainly little punches, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say, like any good storyteller, Nathan, you have to know when to exaggerate, and that's what this course profile is doing, to tell you the truth. It's 78 meters of climbing. That looks like a Tour de France mountain stage.
It does, yeah, that's pretty funny. It does look like a Tour de France mountain stage a little bit, but that Essies, it's going to be interesting. Here's the thing about courses like this. It's not Fuego Flats pan flat. It is a flat course, but there's a lot of little sections where you can gain some speed, get a little bit of roll through. It's going to be all about carrying speed through. I've learned that over and over again through team time trials. One of the main differences between the winners and the losers when it comes to the parity between the teams that are in a league, the reality is how well they know how to tactically take on a team time trial. And I think that's going to be a big question today for a very competitive, actually, when it comes to this women's EMEA East Central A1. Aeonian have been challenged by this Cryo RDT team in a way we've not seen before.
And it's actually, I would even say, a little closer than it looks here. As far as the racing has been, Aeonian ekes out a 3-point advantage, but Cryo RDT, they've been right there. I mean, they're going blow for blow with the Aeonians. So we'll see if they, can move up. As it's going to be that kind of day. Swedish Swifters, they're really, really good at this discipline of team time trialing. Outside of Aeonian, actually, I guess you probably throw Cryo in there too. These are the teams in the ZRL with the most professional experience in team time trialing. But watch out for the Thundercats, Nathan. And Luis Gamst is back today, I saw on the start list. So that's another big engine that they'll have. So BL13, they've been one of these teams that's knocking on the door for a big win. We'll see if it happens out here today with Coalition sitting back here. A little bit of a gap to Coalition sitting in 5th, but you can see this cluster of teams that are going to be battling for a top 5. Aeonian at 33 points, but then Beast Mode presented by Rose, they're sitting on 30 with 2 teams with 29 points, Ceres and the Level Wasps. So Phoenix at 27, Team Castelli at 22, Watt Fabric, Electric Spirit Company, and Roca Corba, the rest of the teams that are going to be looking to put a good team time trial together on a classic team time trial course out here today.
It's been absolutely great covering this women's top A1 category. Speaking of BL13, we did have a chance to talk with Kat Morrison, former top professional triathlete and duathlon competitor. Let's go ahead and hear from Kat before we jump down into our team time trial. I want to welcome to the program Kat Morrison from BL13. Kat, thanks so much for joining us.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me join you this evening.
So, Kat, you want to tell us a little bit about your cycling background and how you got involved in Zwift?
So I think I got involved in Zwift, actually, like a lot of people did, probably during lockdown. And there was the purchase of the, I don't even know what you call it, smart trainer. This new all-fangled dangled machine came into our lives during lockdown, and I just got involved then and kind of worked between Zwift because it's easy and accessible and I can do it when the weather's bad, and then spend as much time as possible outside in the summer.
Sounds like you've got a pretty illustrious cycling, triathlon career. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I've not actually done anything standalone on cycling apart from since I retired, but you can ask me about that later because it's a potted history and it mostly involves near-death experiences on my mountain bike. But I was a professional triathlete probably from around about 2002 all the way through to 2015, and did duathlon, triathlon, and then moved up the distance in triathlon from sprint and standard Olympic distance, and then up into Ironman as my age ever increased and my ability to sprint ever decreased. So finished up doing Ironman in 2015.
Yeah, I'm seeing at least 10 medals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 gold, 3 silver, and 1 bronze, if I'm not incorrect. Am I missing anything? But this is quite the career.
Yeah, I think I can't remember offhand because, we were just discussing, it's another life now. So I was European duathlon champion. I've been world duathlon champion, world long distance triathlon. I think I medalled at that. Won various half Ironman events. Few Ironman events. I think my best finish in Kona was 11th. I always found it really hard as a professional athlete because everyone was like, oh, this is so amazing. And you'd be in these races where, especially in Ironman and half Ironman, where everyone starts together and it's not just the elite or the pro field. And that is so level because people would say, oh, what a great race. And I'm like, you guys are out here for 15, 16 hours. That is what's amazing to me, is that I can get it done in, 8 or 9 hours. But you're still out there for as long as it takes, and that's what's humbling.
So BL13 has this awesome initiative for parity between men and women's cycling. How have you been able to, what has it been like seeing that? Is it an obvious part of the team, or is it kind of just rock up and we're all just the same?
I would say, no, you have to accept the fact that, like my Zwift profile and everything else, I am just a turn up and do something and disappear kind of person. And that I think probably comes from the fact that I spent 15 years completely dedicated to a sport where it swallowed me whole, and that's fine because that was a career choice. And right now, the stuff that I do in the sporting world, number one, I think every pro athlete has that, can I be as good as I was? Or actually, even if I could be, I don't really want to compare to what I was because it's nowhere near what I am now. And, being part of BL13 allows me to jump in and have intensely like a race against myself. What's really lovely about it is that there are so many powerful women who are doing these races. When would you ever in a real life experience, unless you were racing at the top end, be surrounded by so many people of a similar level and caliber? That's quite rare because everyone is just so distributed around the world. Women's sport in general, just that whole level of strength and depth. But what you get is a virtual platform for all of that to come together. So you're surrounded by 30 or 40 women where you're all pushing 4 watts per kilogram. That's pretty good. I mean, it's really, really great and inspiring to be around it. At the same time, I'm thinking, I can't drop anyone. How do these people do it? Everything progresses in the way that people train and understand their bodies, in the way that technology progresses, whether it's in equipment or ways to help you train. It all changes, and then we get these little step changes, and we get these jumps. And for me, when I was racing, it was really Chrissy Wellington that was that step change for the women's pro field, especially obviously in Ironman. when all of a sudden, for a while she was an outlier. But then now, if you look at Chrissy's historical race results versus what's happening in the pro field now, it's everything has come up, everything has moved on. So when I look at myself as an athlete and think, could I ever envisage myself on the pro field again? I'm probably like, well, maybe, just.
Really great to hear from Kat Morrison, Dave. A lot of great energy there, and I love to hear the perspective of someone who's coming from pro racing into the top level of Zwift racing in real life to the virtual. Always an interesting story, Dave.
Yeah, I completely agree. Nathan, I did not realize that she has an MBE, the Member of the Order of the British Empire, which is an honor awarded by the king or queen. That is a big, big deal. The first MBE that I've ever met. Because I haven't actually met her, but yeah, it's cool.
Well, first one I've ever met, that's for sure. I had no idea. That's pretty awesome to see. We'll see if we can see Kat out there today. I do know that she... last time she did a TTT, I think she had just been getting over COVID a little bit and was having a tough time. Maybe a better race out there for her today and a little support, because she does like the longer, steady efforts, she has said a lot of times. But it's going to be interesting to see how BL13 get on today. But we're in with Aeonian now, Dave. Joe Brewis, Megan Kelly. We've got Elise Sykes, Lois Adegeese, Cecilia Hansen, and Charlotte Wilson. 6 showing up, and look at this line, Dave.
Wow.
I mean,
talk about beautiful.
I'm taking
art.
a picture of this because I need to show this to the guys that I'm riding with, because elbows in, straight line, don't push. This is perfection.
Haven't ever really seen anything quite like this. As Cecilia Hansen is showing us how to slot right back in here. Nathan, maybe we just stay with Aeonian the whole time here. You want to watch a perfect team time trial being ridden out here. That is the 2-time world champion, Lois Adegeese, a current World Tour pro, rolling in this group. Yeah, this team has got their act together today. Love to see it. Now, Nathan, these women, this might not be, when you look at it, with over 10,000, probably close to 20,000 athletes in WTRL, ZRLs. This division that we focused in on is absolutely the high end out here, and we're getting a great example of that.
Yeah, you can see the technique this is why they are so dominant. They know exactly what they're doing. They've been at this for so long too, Dave. It's like second nature. You can tell to them. They know exactly where to be, when to be there, how to position the avatar, the steadiness of the speed. You don't see any herky-jerky kind of things going on here. It's just smooth as butter at this point. And, I'd be really surprised if they don't take this one down. Last time in the TTT, they did it by a pretty good margin. Will they continue? Now, the other question is, though, have some other teams learned? Have they done their homework and figured out, look, TTT is not just show and roll. You got to do your homework. You've got to get educated and know what you're doing out there with the watts you're producing.
A team, when they take on a challenge like this, realizes that you have to be on your A game. No doubt. There's some squads that absolutely are going to be in contention. When we get a look at these splits, it's going to tell us a lot. But clearly, the standard being set, this is really something to watch right now. This is one, Nathan, it would be arguable when you look in the ZRL. This might be the greatest team that we have seen assembled out here with Aeonian. This is the first moment that that they haven't looked like team time trial robots out here to me, Nathan, is they're making some human adjustments right now. It looks like riders, again, I saw a really interesting interview from a Tour de France 25 years ago, where they used to run quite a few more team time trials in the Tour or in Grand Tours than they do now. And one of the things that they talked about was how this can be complicated, but it also can be pretty simple out there as well. You just need to keep everybody on the same page.
Jumping in with Kelsey Jade Van Shore, the South African who's the new pickup for Cryo RDT. Let's see how many athletes that they... Now, this is the team that's kind of surprised us a little bit this season. They've always been a top team, but not necessarily challenging at the level we have seen taken on Aeonian. And so great to see Cryo out here. Need to get a little bit of organization. Here's the difference right now. You see the pause there from the rider that we're looking at here for a moment. And now the roll through speed trying to come through, as you can see, not quite as smooth as we saw before, but maybe be able to get things rolling again here as Kelsey now makes her way to the back. The sync and sprint now a little bit off, it looks like. That's one thing a lot of riders can struggle with when you're first getting into team time trials, is the reality of being exactly where you need to be, exactly at the moments you need to be there, and not really shuffling around too much. A lot of times there's a little bit of consternation, a little bit of fear sometimes, to not just jump off the back and go off the front and all the way to the back very quickly, because they're kind of like, oh, I got to stay with it. And they're not trusting the speed they're carrying with. Now Kelsey looks like slotting in perfectly here as a rider comes off the front.
Yeah, and I think maybe, Nathan, if you were watching Kelsey through that last minute, you can see how hard it is to get the flow down. This team, I mean, if you're grading these teams on a score of 0 to 100, obviously Aeonian is going to be sitting up there in that 99 range. Nobody's ever going to quite be perfect in this sport. This is not a bad performance from Cryo. I mean, we're looking at a team that they've got their ducks in a row. It's just when you go from, I mean, you are looking at the Mona Lisa when you're looking at Aeonian, so comparing anything to that is a little bit tough. But these are the moments that you're trying to avoid, what we're seeing right now. I think that, getting the rotation right for Kelsey seems to be the issue right now.
Yeah, and it's the up in the power and the lower in the power. The up in the power.
You've seen it 3 times from her here, right?
Yeah, you can see that for sure. And I really do think that it has to do with getting the consistency of understanding that your watts and your pedal stroke is actually a controller, and feathering that. It's similar to any other, if you're familiar with playing video games ever, when you're using, a controller with an Xbox and you're trying to like use those thumbs to just feather things, or even when you're trying to get your sense right on a mouse for the gamers out there, you're trying to get your sense right for just those minuscule movements that are needed out there. It's so not familiar to a racer a lot of times. You just think smash pedals go, smash pedals go, and it's not more feathering than that.
Well, that's really, really well put, Nathan. And I think that, it becomes almost surgical application of the power out here as we take a look at another very experienced Zwifter, is Jenny Eck up on the front right now. This is Cryo RDT that we're in with now. Team sitting second in the season, 3 points off of Aeonian coming into today. Aeonian's not looking on giving anything back, that is for sure. If you're going to get up on top of the table, you're going to have an incredible ride. Boy, they look pretty good right now, though. Looking at Cryo RDT, early going of this race, but it does look to me, Nathan, that they're starting to find their rhythm out here.
Look at that. 6
Look
seconds.
At that. Yeah.
It's not, if they get things organized here, they can challenge, depending on how hard they went out.
Yeah, that's a really good sign for them, Nathan, as they realize there's a delta. They can get a little bit better. If that was their start and they're only 6 seconds behind Aeonian, that's going to put a little bit of wind in their sails. So very encouraging start for Toyota Cryo RDT. What are we going to see from Swedish Zwifters? How about BL13? How close are they going to be? Nathan, I'm going to be honest. I thought Aeonian would have something more like 15 seconds. Well, it's only 6K in. Right, so 1 second per K. Let's see what Swedish Zwifters are at. I'm expecting, and this is Swedish Zwifters that we're looking at on screen right now. Locked down, very solid.
Another team that really knows their team time trials, one of the most experienced teams in the world of Zwift. One thing that I do want to mention as well, as far as the tactics go, reservation of energy isn't necessarily something that riders think about when you're getting off real strong. You want to, team time trial, it's all about a race against the clock. But there's a reality of like when you're trying to fight for position all the time amongst your team, and you have to those extra meters to go by the rider that is taking your position, those extra watts every moment that you're fighting at your team for where you should be or to get to the front. I've had time and time again when I'm amongst my teammates and they're like, I got nothing left. And afterwards they think it back through and they go, I burned 4, 5, 6 matches just getting position, just trying to find where I needed to be, just trying to get past at times when I needed to be there, because everybody has to be doing the same speed all the time, right? And because you always have to be doing that same speed, if you're not holding that position, people are going to fight to be at the same speed then, to be in the right position over and over again. It's not necessarily intuitive to the mind that there is that reality to it because we're just going along. But if you're not holding that, and obviously there's a little bit of like, the way I'm saying this, even frustration coming through when it's happening right now, because you really can't waste those matches. It's so important not to do that.
Well, I mean, Nathan, it's funny how the discussions around team time trialing over the last 4 or 5 years, there's an element of frustration or intensity at times because there's different mindsets on what is the best way. I will say one thing, echoing what you're talking about, is if you're seeing dramatic swings in your power, you're not doing it right. You know, you're really, even like an individual time trial, you're trying to put out a steady state effort. Now, coordinating that with 5 other athletes in a team time trial is real. That's what makes this so tricky. That's for sure. But if you're seeing yourself on the gas, off the gas, on the gas, off the gas, something's not right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's a great point. And we are in with, these are really experienced riders that we're actually in with here. Anna Embring, London is here, SZ. Now, looking at the times coming in, though, 11:05, that's a little bit surprising, but maybe it is a long day out here. I was seeing for the men, 42 minutes for some of the A men. So maybe going out not quite so insane might be a part of a tactic here.
It's interesting. Yeah, your scheduling today is going to be critical. I think, Nathan, just looking at the data from the first 5 teams through that 6K checkpoint, the real story is Cryo here. Expecting Aeonian to be great, Cryo is really leveling up, and it's going to be exciting to see what they can do out here today. Swedish Zwifters, constantly good out here, although you can see gaps a little bit larger than what you would like to see, but you can see how they don't panic. That's the experience that we're looking at, where just fixing that little gap without overlapping wheels, that's some nice riding right there by, is it Alberg second wheel, or Svardstrom, excuse me, second wheel here.
The new rider we were talking about a little bit at ZWS, Dave. This
Absolutely.
Was a rider who had showed up recently. It looks like she took a win in the SCF Swedish Cup Race 1. That's a big deal. This is the ride I really like. Alberg, she is this new blood on this team, and I think that she's one to watch out for the future of esports. It's great to see Camellia out here. Alberg, definitely always a smile on the face too when she's featured. She did a solid 4.6 watts per kilogram for 20 minutes in that SCF Swedish Cup, actually. A big Swedish event.
That was just yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a live event they put on. It's absolutely awesome what they're doing, and really great to see Alberg showing up for that.
Yeah, the Swedes have embraced Zwift like no other nation. And I mean, you're looking at right now 6 of the 10 best Swedish Zwifters, I would say, on your screen. And yeah, Nathan, with their experience, your point earlier about, do they have some negative splits? Do they start coming back in the final 10K? I wouldn't bet against them, to tell you the truth.
That's a good point, actually. We'll see if that's what ends up happening here as rider nearby. Look at the I like how the flags are all in unison. Like, a team time trial is about unison, right? And it adds a little bit of flavor to the reality of what this team time trial is and what this team can accomplish out here today.
And how similar all of these athletes are, Nathan. On the team, the weight variation is only 10 kilos dispersed amongst the entire 6 athletes here. So that really, it helps, to tell you the truth, to have evenly matched riders amongst your 6. I mean, that was always the goal back in the days of the amateur Olympics, where it was 4 riders. Is in general, you would see that those 4 riders were almost carbon copies of each other in their physicality. I mean, it's tough when you've got one 6'8" guy and then a 5'4" guy, and you know, it's creates an odd dynamic for the drafting and the rotation.
Well, we've got some splits coming in here, as you can see, and Level Wasps. What is going on with it? Like, that's a team that's not necessarily at the top. That's for sure. They were outside of the top 4 or 5, I believe, and they're 6 seconds ahead of the BL 13 Thundercats. Coalition ART is there. You can see, wow.
They're going to move into the top 5. If they can hold a ride like this, thereabouts, they're having an incredible day. That is the standout performance, to tell you the truth, Nathan, is what Level was. I believe they were, I think, tied 29 points, if I remember correctly. This is a huge jump for them to be sitting third right now here at the first split, but we got a long way to go out here. That's for sure, as we stay in with the Swedes.
Back in
Looks
with
like we found
BL13. Yeah, great to see them out here today. Who's showing up for BL13?
5 riders.
Loudon, Luis, Hannah, Stewart is all out here. So it's going to be interesting to see what they can pull off out here today, because we are missing, it looks like, one of the riders. Kat is here, though. Great to see. Our interviewer showed up out here today.
What a legend Kat is. Super interesting. I mean, you could have gone on and on with the results that she had in the world of triathlon, that's for sure. BL13, don't sleep on these ladies. This is a team that's just getting better and better every week.
Yeah, I'm really excited, actually, to see what they can pull off out here today. I mean, looking at a 10:56, they're still in it for a podium out here today. And they've, when it comes to the way that they have progressed, I think, as a women's team. When they first showed up as a women's team, there was a definitely like, okay, now we're at a top level. They did that parity between the men's and the women's, and they started recruiting and building up the team and getting the team stronger and stronger. And now they're at a level that we've never seen before.
Yeah, and the future is bright. I mean, they definitely are in that elite group of the top teams in the sport right now. I'm trying to figure out who they are missing right now, talking about BL13. Harriet Loudon. We know Kathronia Morrison is here. Is it Louise Gampst, Nathan, that didn't make the start out here today? No, Louise is there. There's that Danish flag next to her name. She certainly qualifies as a legend.
Yeah, looking through.
But yeah, BL13 with 5. On a day like today, Nathan, a flatter course, it's more important to have the entire contingent of your team rotating through. It's harder to get away with 4 or 5 versus a full-on 6-rider team.
Yeah, speaking of that, I mean, the reality is you're missing out on 30 seconds to a minute of rest. That is massive when it comes to what you can handle. I think they did have, now I'm not sure if Katharina Berger is a DS out there today. I do know I am seeing in the Zwift Power, perhaps she was a DS, or perhaps was able, just didn't get off on the start, but they are missing one rider out here today. But, interesting to see with that -1, the lack of extra rest. I mean, think about that. If you're doing a threshold to VO2 max effort, right? And think of having to do that VO2 max type effort for an extra 30 seconds to a minute. That is massive amounts of energy being used comparatively to having that extra 30 seconds to a minute of rest of that VO2 type effort while you're going over under at threshold or a little bit under. I mean, that is, sure. If you put it in that perspective for those who are used to doing 2 to 3 minutes, 4 minute all out efforts, it changes the perspective, I think, if you understand how hard these efforts are.
And you can get away with it. You can fake it for a little while, but eventually you're going to have to pay the piper. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now, as they're down to 4 as one rider coming out of that group. And I think is it Harriet that unfortunately got unhitched there over that last little riser?
Let's double check here and see. I do that maybe Kat actually, who's
actually Kat's second wheel.
No, yeah, Kat's on the front here. Yeah, so who's that going to be? Just a little bit off the back. I believe that is going to be Hannah here from BL13. And will they sit up? I think that's 5 seconds. Not a good idea to sit up, in my opinion.
You know, unfortunately, I think you soldier on with 4 here at this point. That's what they're going to do.
This early on, the amount of speed that would be lost and being in contention, but only 4 with this long of a race, Dave, it's going to be a tough going out here today.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't, to tell you the truth, Nathan. You know, these are the tough calls that you have to make. I think I probably would side, and they're having yet another rider struggling now. So BL13, who came in as one of the danger teams, definitely getting put through the ringer out here right now.
Yeah, cat on the front, liking the red helmet. Now in the back, it is going to be, it looks like Denise Stewart trying to get back on terms on the back of this one here. And
Kat did a good job there, though, of not making the situation worse. Very, very heads up riding from Kat to back off just a little bit to allow her teammate back into the slipstream. The last thing you want to do, Nathan, is keep her out there in the wind struggling. It doesn't do anyone on your team any good to not get her back into the slipstream as quickly as possible and then get back to the task.
Wow.
But holding her at
Dave, Denise Stewart, this is a major jump into the deep end for Denise, actually. I'm looking at her Zwift Power profile here, and she's coming in as a C-Cat rider from the old categories. 3.4 watts per kilogram for her 20 minutes. She is riding way above her
pay grade.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, this is actually amazing what we're seeing. I mean, just to be here at this point is massive. At this kind of, I mean, if we take another look at these splits, they're challenging some of the top teams in the world right now with their time, and she is with it. That's crazy.
Okay. I agree. Good catch, Nathan. And this would be my advice now then, as Denise Stewart is, I mean, that defines punching above your weight, Nathan, what she's doing right now. Literally, if someone asked me, what do you mean when you say punching above your weight? I would say a C-class rider in an elite time trial and holding on, and you can see she is right at the end of that rope right now. But this team realizes that she is where their time will be taken. Right? So the fine line for them is go as fast as we can without dropping Denise. And with all due credit, Denise, I think you're the hero of the day out here with the ride that she has put together. I mean, that's just incredible what she's doing. But the team is going to need to nurse her along. She should not put her nose in the wind the rest of this race. And what they're doing right now is finding that threshold, and they just keep going a little too hard. But look, the reality is your time is coming off of your fourth rider's front wheel. That rider is Denise Stewart, and you need to keep Denise out of the wind. Like keeping her at dangling 40 meters back, brutal. You just got to slow down.
Is it fourth rider or is it third rider? I have to double check on that one. They may be able to continue on.
I apologize. If it's third rider, they need to continue on. If it's fourth, I thought it was fourth, though. You think it's third?
Yeah, I believe with this situation, but I'll have to double check on that one. My bad if I'm incorrect on that. Because it's different between different setups. If you show up with a certain number of riders, you can get away with 3.
Right, but we're starting with 6.
Yeah, I think you're right. I was just double checking on how many they started with and like how that ends up with them, because there are some exceptions.
Well,
so
if it were your third rider, they would have had to have left Denise Stewart, to be honest.
Yeah, good point. Great point. So I think,
but again, I want to be clear. Denise deserves a ton of credit, Nathan, for what she's doing. As you said, she was racing with the C's recently. So this is a quantum leap to be racing in this field.
It is. It's massive. And this is really, really great to see how well she is doing. And they're doing a great job of nursing her along. And I think you're correct with the way that they're doing this. It's most likely... The reality is they know they need that fourth rider. It's a long ways to go here, Dave, isn't it? We've got
What are you going to do, though? She is where your time is coming from. This would be a good example of ego versus team. If your ego, now, again, this is where it's like Denise does not need to be taking pulls now. She's just kind of, the momentum took her through right now. And this is the fine line of them finding the right pace here, which that was not a pull necessarily. That was just kind of getting their rhythm right out here.
Going to jump back to Coalition. Arete, if I'm pronouncing that right, it's going to be Ann Nevin as they make their way over the little bit of a punch in the Essies here. This section, of course, you can carry a ton of speed through here as you come up and over the top. Now, that roll-through speed we were just talking about that we saw Denise taking down this downhill into the sprint banner section. Sprints don't matter out here, but it is a section, if you know it well, you can carry massive amount of speed through and kind of roller coaster that with the rest of the team and then do a quick reset. But it looks like a little bit of a gap here now forming as another rider does roll through. There's that speed coming through from the rest of the team. Nobody panicking, it looks like, and everybody doing exactly what they need to with Alice Lethbridge on the back here with her verified check badge. Good to see Alice out here today with Coalition.
So that technique, Nathan, the roll through and the speed, if everybody's on the same page, it's awesome. If people aren't experienced, it can put you into a moment of chaos where all the time that you're hopefully going to gain, you watch disappear. So that was a really good job of showing you how an experienced team, that's a great shot right there as well. As we take a look at the Coalition squad.
Yeah, it's a great, it is, and it's a great point actually, Dave, because you can mess everything up completely, or it can be what
it's got to be
wins you the
synchronized.
race. It can win you the
Absolutely.
race, literally, or it can make it so that everything is completely chaos because nobody understands how they're going to position themselves and who's rolling through or not. They all start fighting each other for where they're supposed. I've had situations where like we're rolling through and next thing you know, everyone's doing 7 watts per kilogram and they've all just wasted their pull. And it's like, well, this didn't work out too well.
And it's like, yeah, absolutely. It's that troupe concept of actors, and every now and then we ad lib. But even when we ad lib, we know what we're doing. There's a plan in the chaos even, and that's where the great teams shine, without any doubt. I'd put Coalition in that group with names like this, Alice Lethbridge, Ann Nevin, and company. As they're on the gas, the splits were at 6, 12, and 18 out here today. I think the real story is going to be, well, the Level Wasps, one, can they hold on to a top 3 spot out here? And can Cryo RDT, can they stay that close to Aeonian out here? What kind of a battle are we really going to see? Because it's shaping up to be an epic one today in our 4th race of this 6-race season here in ZRL, Season 2. Getting stuck in with our team time trial. So right around 33K of racing with 78 meters of climbing along the way.
All these riders coming out of the UK. UK-based team here with Coalition. Cool to see.
Anne would argue, Nathan.
Ah, my bad. Thank you. It's like it was the colors. And you're right. I know
she's
Ann
right.
well.
Yeah.
I know Ann well too. I've seen her. Like she's been a part of this reality for so long. Sorry, Ann. Nevin, as Martha Parkinson on the front here, 4.9 watts per kilogram. You can see the power differentiations there as the helicopter takes us on through to the volcano. We'll go around the back end of that volcano as the ladies are going to get a little bit of a climb. Double punch into there, and they'll make their way back over to the Essies.
That's where BL13 is going to need to be really careful on that double punch to help nurse that team through.
Who is this being caught here? Dave. That is a BL13 rider, it looks like. They continued on. The big question mark is going to be, will 3 do it for them? Because I have a feeling they just had to continue on. And, I mean, shout out to Denise. I mean, the level that she jumped into, talk about being thrown into the frying pan. I mean, A-level racing, Dave, at the top A-level, that is crazy. What she had to do there.
I agree. Yeah. When you think about it, not many folks are up for that challenge, that's for sure. And she made it deep into the race as well. Even making it to that first split was important. But unfortunately, she's the time for their team.
Well, they got to get their workout in though too. Sometimes that's
Yeah,
just the reality.
I think that maybe took precedence.
There's we have to
Yep.
just continue on. And now looking through here, there's got 31:50. Look at the time from 25 seconds. So it's been consistently opening up that gap with Aeonian.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, Nathan, because Cryo RDT, well, look at that, how level wafts are only 6 seconds out at 12K. They are having a ride of a lifetime. If level wafts are within 10 seconds, Nathan, at that 18K check, and we should see that split coming in momentarily, they are on a day, without any doubt, as they will be moving up into the top 5 overall here. Certainly, BL13 struggling today. Level Wasp having a fantastic ride. We're going to see a lot of movement on our leaderboard.
Look at Beast Mode. They have moved up 2 spots since they started. You see that? In 5th now? I wonder if that continues on.
Well, and only 2 seconds out of behind. So they're going to pass BL13 now. They'll move up into 4th for sure.
Yeah, and
possibly.
This is, I'm not that surprised because it's one of the most experienced teams out there. They've got some really good depth when it comes to the knowledge that's on this team. And so I have a feeling that might pay off. Raw Watts will do well on a shorter course, but you get into a longer course and the reality of whether or not you've got the experience will start to really shine in the later half of that race. Now, the Level Wasp situation, that is a little bit of a surprise to me. It's great to see that they went out, they went to the chalkboard, they did their homework, and you can see that Level Wasp are at a whole new level. Now, is that going to be excitement? We're going to find out in the back end of this race. That. Yeah, you think so?
You know what? I'm with you. A lot of that might be just pure raw ambition, but this next check is going to tell us a lot. It's a long way from the finish, 18K, as they still have over 15 kilometers of racing after that check. But if the Level Wasp are sitting there within that, I was saying 10 seconds, I have a feeling that they have cracked the code on team time trialing out here. I'd be interested to see what spot they finished in week 1 compared to the ride that they're having out here today, Nathan. There's Swedish Zwifters in with a 33:12, so nearly a minute out of second for Swedish Zwifters.
Look at that +5. They went up 5 spots right now, but that's just because we haven't seen. That's what I love about this is you can see where people sit as they come through, and those little changes, they're going to come through, and we're going to get a whole new situation in just a moment here.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens with BL13 versus Level Wasp. One team is green and the other is red.
Man, this is a good one here. Now, another team that we're very familiar with that, we haven't heard a whole lot from, but has a lot of experience when it comes to racing TTTs and Zwift Racing League. That's going to be our SARS team here. Highland, Ward, McGregor, Babanu, Litton, and Bolawa are out here today. Babanu, professional triathlete in real life. Great to see her out there.
Yeah, the Riot Saris mix, Bronwyn McGregor. There's a couple New Zealanders, Brittany Litton, the other on this team, the American Megan Highland. Certainly a rider to watch for the future. But you're right, there's another legacy squad, without any doubt, when you talk about Saris having their own spot of bother right now.
Ward pulling through, Highland getting back on terms. It looks like it's going to be McGregor that's going to close that down. Balawa actually, and then Babanu Cuthbertson on the back now at this point. As they're going to take the left-hand turn back on over to the SEs in just a moment. You can see that gap looking to be closed down. That one rider in the middle is trying to glue it together for him here. It's going to be interesting how that's going to take place. It's going to be a big effort there from Bronwyn McGregor in order to bring that back together. Will the speed stay consistent? Nice job on the front, not actually separating them and keeping it consistent so that the roll-through speed doesn't come through. But my question is whether or not people are suffering back there, if they're just holding steady in the draft.
Yeah, when you hear the phrase "close that down" in a team time trial, you know it's a sub-ideal situation. That's for sure. And that's still where we're at. The gaps are just too big right now.
Yeah, it's
They're
just going to
working
come
on
back
it.
together. They are, and I think it's going to work out, but it's a tough one.
I don't
here.
know that this team should be 6 at this point. I think that's maybe the problem, is trying to figure out, do we soldier on with 4? And I think they're going to have to. I mean, a gap like this doesn't open for no reason.
A good point. And now it is just 2, it looks like, as we're in with Lauren and Bulawa. I think they're soldiering on. I think the reality is that Highland, Lytton, and the rest now at this point are going to continue on. They've got 4 left. Backing off on the front, Britt Lytton. But look at the gap. It's massive now at this point.
I feel like they managed that pretty well, though. You know, some teams, maybe, Nathan, would let that conversation go on for a couple of kilometers trying to figure out, what are we doing here? They must have had a director saying, okay, you know, reality sandwich being served up here. Go on with the 4.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's an Anna Russell in the ears somewhere, because there's those kind of quick, decisions like that. That's an experienced decision. Because if you sit up for 1 second, that could be the difference between 5th, 4th, 1st place. That 1 second, it can come down to that. And you just never stop carrying on. At least at a consistent speed.
Indecision, right, Nathan? That's what kills your time out here, is not being able to make the tough calls. Bronwyn McGregor, a lot of experience, another experienced road racer, that's for sure. She's done her time in Europe.
Now, this is kind of the ride of the day for me. I mean, let's take a quick look here.
Still 6 together, too, for level, Nathan.
So well. I want to just take a quick look at something here, Dave. Look at this. They were sitting in 8th place, tied with Saris, right, coming into this. Beast Motor right there. So they're in this conversation for that top 5-ish, if they can take on Coalition as well. They're within striking distance of that, but this is a massive result, I think, if they're able to pull off what we saw in that overall earlier.
I think they do move into the top 5, and all of a sudden, it's got to be just an exciting moment for the team in green that we're looking at here. Although, what have we got now? Seems like the curse of the commentators today, Nathan. Every time we find a new team, we watch the unraveling. Now, that's going to be the 2 Saris riders right in front of them that unhitched just a couple minutes ago here. So now we're looking at the level team. I'm looking for their 4th rider to show up here on the edge of our screen, getting into that draft as level is catching the back markers now. So these were the riders it was only a couple minutes ago, Nathan, that they left the 4 riders that soldiered on. So level showing you what kind of a day they're having is they might catch the other 4 here for Saris, as they're going to motor right past these 2.
Yeah, look at this. They're having an amazing ride, actually. Great to see. The leader here that we have on the front, what's she putting down here? That's Leah Cuthbertson, 5.2 watts per kilogram here, coming in from Leah. Familiar name in the world of racing out on Zwift. Coming out of Scotland. And Leah now making her way backwards, as it's going to be Sammy Horner to the front. Wow, that was a massive kick that we just saw from her on the front end of that just now. Cuthbertson here, coming out of Scotland, 484 races. She's got a steady FTP of 4.06 as she makes her way to the back of this pack. Nice job by Level.
Kind of. For level, Nathan, this is just pure raw ambition that we're seeing from the squad out here today. They're not technically quite at the Aeonian level, but they've got the heart, no questions. We take a look at Kristen White, the American, now putting herself and her nose up into the wind. So I think it's fair to say that the deltas for this team, the amount of gain that they're going to have as they get better working together in the discipline of team time trialing, is going to be absolutely massive. This is an indicator to watch out for this team in the future.
Yeah, I love to see it. Kristen White here, 450 races. She's raced in the 645 races. Wow. She's very experienced. And it's great to see her out here. This is a newer name, though, for me when it comes to Zwift racing at this kind of level. Again, these teams showing up, Dave, and these riders, what we heard in that interview from Kat Morrison is actually coming true right in front of our eyes across the entirety of this women's category. The level is just, you're seeing all of these ladies take it to this next level over and over again, showing up and battling it out and pushing each other to be in this top form that you would never have seen before.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, truly, this is the real strength of Zwift. It's the community and what comes together. And I mean, this is going to happen for the rest of time. That we're going to have, it seems to happen more on the women's side, or maybe just because of our broadcast, it seems that way. But women who never really had a chance to shine in athletics for various reasons in their life, they finally get a shot at it. And they show up and over-deliver time and time again. I'd say the same for Kristen White. I'm not familiar with her until this broadcast, but I'm certainly familiar with her now. She's a monster. She's put in her time on Zwift. She's riding in a team that's sitting in the top 3 at the highest level, really, that we see in Zwift racing and team time trialing. And this is one heck of a ride that Level is putting together. And Nathan, I think you would agree with me, is that you're looking at a ride that's driven by heart and passion right now. As they get a little more experience, they're going to eke out faster and faster times, as the precision will come to these ladies because they've absolutely proven that they've got the grinta.
Definitely. And at the front now, again, you can see 4.8 watts per kilogram. Sharon Bien, look at this. I'm loving this. The way
it's almost like we're watching them get better in front of our eyes, Nathan.
Yeah, for sure. Guthbertson now back at the front. Let's see what these splits have to tell us as we jump on in here. And look, third place, Dave. Third place right now, 32-41. Massive here coming in from Level Wasps.
Stack it up from 4 to 8th, Nathan, and you only have 12 seconds separating those teams. That is a lot of points in our season table that'll be decided by who wants to dig a little bit deeper in the back end of this course. So they're inside of 14K of racing, depending on which team you're looking at here. And yeah, back end, who's going to deliver the goods out here with only 12 seconds, Nathan, separating 5 teams. Boy, I have to admit, I'm pulling for the squad you've got on screen right now. The Level Wasps are having a breakthrough performance as a team out here today as they sit 19 seconds in front of Coalition Ariete. It's gone out to 25 when you look at the top of the table with Aeonian. That's not a surprise, Nathan, to me. Cryo RDT putting together a solid ride out here today, but going up against a squad like Aeonian, you not only need to have a perfect day, but you need to have them stub their toe.
One thing that I really love about the team time trial, is it gives a chance for a team to be isolated in a way that allows them to just do their thing and shine within their own little cabinet there. And then things like this can happen in some ways. It's like they all work together, they show up with their plan, and they can definitely, have these breakthrough rides in their little solo space. When you're in a big group in a scratch race or in a points race, things can go mayhem and all kind of crazy. But right here, you can just show up and do your thing and have a breakthrough ride like this as a team.
Yeah, it's such a different mindset when you look at the racing. We're not looking for creativity out here, Nathan, are we? We're looking for people who can work as a unit. And, team time trialing, bike racing in general is typically a selfish sport. You need to do what's best for you. You try to eat everybody else's lunch before you start on yours. Team time trialing is exactly the opposite. You need to make sure everybody on the team is getting fed. As we take a look at a Paralympian there from Paris, Katrin Nilsson, the Swedish rider. What a talent she is. Really fun to have her as part of our community.
Yeah, and just finishing up here now as Katrin Nielsen. She's going to be coming across the line in just a moment here as we've got the finishing times coming in. We just saw the finish there from Aeonian. They're going to most likely take this down today, and barring any kind of crazy changes when it comes to the splits that we just saw in the end. But it's going to be Van Shore, Kelsey here now, leading things out for the team, taking them all the way to the line with Maria Holdcroft right on the wheel. We saw Holdcroft going to the line last week between Lois Adegeest and Holdcroft. Now it's going to the line for the two of these teams. We'll get the results and the times coming up quickly here as they come through.
6 together on the gas. This is going to be a solid silver medal, it looks like, for Toyota Cryo RDT. I don't think they're going to be threatened by the level Wasps out here, although they're sitting nicely in third place out here. But we've got some pretty decent separation between gold, silver, and bronze medals out on course, and this is your silver standard. Cryo RDT, one of the world's most popular teams, finishing with 6, putting on a clinic, to tell you the truth.
And as they come through, we've got a little bit early there. 48.09 is what we're seeing. That can't be right.
I don't know.
I'm
not
sure
going to try to explain that.
I'm not going to try to explain that one either. There we go. It just came through at just now. They 48.23.
You were looking at a preliminary finish time, I think.
Yeah, we'll just leave it at that.
Leave it at that.
Yeah.
But Nathan, 15 seconds when it's done and dusted. That's a heck of a ride from Cryo today. I mean,
yeah, it's getting updated.
They actually
here. I have
came
a feeling
back.
We're going to come through with a little bit of updates here and there. We'll hold off on some of these times as they come through for the finish. I have a feeling that what's going on there is this is a longer team time trial, and I have a feeling that finish also has another little marker that we're not getting. We could have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 splits actually with how long this time trial is. So I have a feeling we're getting another interesting
split like 100 meters before.
Yeah, I think that's what's going on there.
Right.
I think it's split into, that might be like a 24K or I don't know, something interesting that I don't understand. But
so I'm going to make a point, Nathan. I'd love to hear what you think. That the teams that are finishing today with 6 says a lot about the depth of your team. The fact that you have 6 athletes that can race at that level over 33K with these speeds, that's a really good indicator that your team has at least built up a full stable of talent.
yeah, that's true. To be able to come through and not drop anybody and have these
That's
kinds of
impressive.
speeds, that's a really good point, actually. And be competitive. I mean, this is definitely it's that's not easy to throw that
Yeah,
down.
I guess
I see Sin. Are they in it still? This is pretty close when it comes to this 8th through 4th place. 8th through 4th place are within 12 seconds of each other, Dave.
Right. Yeah, and I bet you that the Swedish Swifters end up more in the 5th or 6th spot. Their experience is paying off right now. You're looking at the 6
such
riders.
a long time to the finish, too, between that 18K and the finish line.
I'm going to stick with
massive.
that. I'm going to guess that they end up with the 5th spot today when it's all settled, once the dust has settled. Here's a team that's shown a lot of heart out here today.
Did they wait up? Wait a second. Is there 4 riders?
Why are there 4 is the question. And they must have waited up, or actually that is their 4th. So I have a feeling that the reality of getting your workout in versus trying to get the best time must have weighed heavily on these ladies because they waited. That is Stewart coming back now.
Yeah, and they were in contention for a top 3, but good on them though, getting everybody together across the line. Solid ride here all around.
Yeah, I'm happy that they did this, to tell you the truth. Remaining true more to the result than your workout. Yeah, that's Kat there, who we had a great interview with today, Nathan. Thanks again for that. And I think that she is showing you some, what would the word be? Discretion.
Yeah, being really smart about it, as well as Luis Gamst, one of the most experienced riders out there when it comes to team time trialing as well. So nicely
Yeah,
done.
they had a teammate who just a few weeks ago was racing as a C, right? So everybody really needed to pitch in to help her out today.
Here we go with Ann Nevin. Nice little kick to the line, bringing 4 with Coalition as they go by our viewer. As we go by our viewing.
Maybe he's giving us
there.
those splits.
Back in with Beast Mode with Hartine. Heidi. Now as they ramp things up into 5 watts per kilogram, and they still got, how many are here with Beast Mode now at
5.
this point? Is it 5?
Yeah, I believe, yes. The 5 riders of the apocalypse coming into the finish now.
Harding, Joanna,
look
Lisa,
fast.
Eva, Maria, all here together. I like they put in their names, they put the numbers. Very German, organized. I like it. And make sure everybody knows where they're supposed to be and when. And you can just call out 4. You know, if you're DSing, it's kind of nice to be like 4 to the front, 5 here, 6 at this point, and you can just say the number. And there's no.
They have 2 Evas on the team as well, which that
Ah.
even backs up your story there.
That's a good point. Keeps it simple.
Yeah. You don't have people wondering which Eva are we talking about. All right, that's going to be Saris as we say goodbye to Beast Mode presented by Rose and pick up Saris. It looks like they do have 4 here. That's another team just up the road. That might be the Beast Mode rider, actually.
Yeah, it's Evie. Yeah. For Beast Mode, I think.
The other Eva, I think.
Now, they
right?
stayed steady here with this 4, though. Nicely done. I'm liking what I'm seeing from them. Now, the big question mark today that's going to finish up our broadcast of this specific race is going to be the level question. How did the level wasps end up out here today? Because that's going to tell us a lot about the rest of the second half of this season.
I agree. And actually future seasons even, Nathan. I'm going to go with they hold on for 3rd. They had a 19-second buffer on the 4th place team. That's going to be a strong finish from Saris that we're looking at here, working through some traffic as they come up on the finish line.
Nice
so they'll
job,
be
Highland.
happy to.
Whoa, look at this. The speed. They are
So many
flying.
things to say.
Dave, they are flying.
They've got all 6 riders. They're on the gas. This is the ride of the day. All due respect to Cryo and to Aeonian. This stands out for me as a breakthrough performance from Level today.
Cuthbertson now, final one,
Ooh la
little
la.
kick across the line, and now we'll get the massive drop in from everybody else who's finishing their ZRL here today as we get into the open world and high heart rates. And there goes the level wasp continuing on as they get their cooldown in.
Going to do another lap.
Let's see if we can get an idea here. We might have to wait on an update here in just a moment. We'll see if we can get something to come through, but I think we've got that.
It looks like level holds on for a bronze.
Yeah, I think you're
But
right.
You're
here.
right. We'll let it distill a little bit more. Yeah, because you can see, Nathan, you were 100% correct. That gap has corrected there to what seems more logical. That 48:12 was the winning time for Aeonian. 48:45 should be good for 2nd.
We'll see now. Yeah, this is interesting.
Updating.
The 49-48 that's there for 8th place. So something's going on with that, with our table. We'll see if we can figure that one out. But for sure, the top 3 are going to be correct there. Nicely done by Level Wasp, having one of the best
I
rides.
see. You're saying that Saris is at 45 versus the 48, so they should be 5. Beast Mode into 6. Swedish Zwifters at 48 as well.
Yeah,
there. So we'll get that all sorted.
Yeah, we'll get that sorted. Gotta love that. But
we're only halfway there, though, Nathan.
Yeah, we've got a men's race about to kick off here. We'll start getting some of that information in here in just a second. But let's go ahead and hear back from Kat as we just saw them finish up for what's going on with her. Your experience in cycling and training hasn't necessarily been where you are able to find a lot of women at the level that you were riding at. And so, less participation in real life ended up being more of a here's a couple of people here and there that you could ride with. But now in the virtual world, there's this discovery that no, there's a bunch of women out there actually that want this and have a desire for it and are now able to express that, and it's really cool to be amongst that, is what I'm hearing from you. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so, because if I look back on the time that I spent training, you were always surrounded by a core number, and really probably quite a small number of people, or you train by yourself, or for a lot of women who are at a particular level, you train with a lot of guys, because you have peers of a same ability level, or you've got someone just ahead of you to pull you on or to push you on. But very rarely would you be in a situation where you had a training group that was, full of strength and depth. Now I say that from where I live, and I was always based in Scotland and still am based in Scotland, and I could have made a decision to move and come to Colorado, for example, where there was a real community of triathletes, but that was never part of my life plan. So I made certain decisions in my career to stay where I was, which meant that I would do a lot of training with, top age group male triathletes. I would drag my husband along behind me on a weekend with him begging for mercy. That still happens. Or I would train by myself a lot of the time. But what these racing platforms not only do is allow you to be surrounded by a whole lot of similar ability and greater ability, and to be humbled by that and inspired by that, but also just to be part of a bigger picture.
Tell us about your most memorable race and how it stands out, either in the Zwift Racing League on Zwift, or I would really like to hear about a memorable race from in real life as well.
Yeah, I think probably the most memorable one was Ironman Lanzarote, or Lanzarote as you Americans like to call it, which makes me giggle. Maybe about halfway through the bike course, I stood up, and because of my immense power generation, my chain broke. I have no idea what happened, but my chain broke, and I was like, oh, that's a little bit unfortunate. So I stood at the side of the road and I kind of looked at it and I thought, well, I can't repair that. And I just had to wait for the in-race mechanics to come and find me. My chain got repaired, and I thought, well, you're so far off the pace now, what are you going to do? And I kind of thought about it, and I thought, right, okay, you can have a really hard swim, hard bike, and then you could just call it quits and pick up an Ironman like in 2 weeks' time. Got back on the bike, did the bike, came into transition, thought, well, I should really do a little bit of the run and make sure I get a run off. So I started on the run, but it became apparent as I was running that I was catching, and my husband was on the phone to my coach, and he was saying, well, should she just stop after the first lap of the run? And he's like, well, and I told you Phil's all about the maths. He's like, he's doing the boffin calculations. He's like, well, if she continues to go at this speed and the wind speed is in this direction, and so he's doing all the maths. And they had basically decided that if I kept going at the pace I was going at, I was going to catch the leader. But they didn't manage to tell me this. So I'd already made the decision that I thought I was coming back into contention in the race. And in the last 5K, I caught the leader and I overtook her, and I ended up winning. But I had spent, at the end of the race, it transpired that I'd spent 45 minutes at the side of the road waiting for my chain to be fixed. You have all the disappointment, Annika, that you can't deal with, and then you reset your parameters of what your expectations are for the race, and then you actually just go ahead and put yourself on the line anyway and have a great result.
So if there's one thing about Zwift that you could change or that you could request, one development, one game feature, whatever it might be, what would it be?
Yes, so could you donate or give your power-ups to someone on your team who knew that they would better benefit from them?
Power up handoff. That's cool. I like that idea.
So the other night, for example, like you said, the way I ride means that I will try and just stick with it as long as possible, but I am never going to be able to come forward in a sprint at the end. But what happened if everyone on my team saw that Kat was the only person who'd made it into that little break, and then was like, we give her all our stuff, and then I might actually be able to fight my way through in that sprint, in that example, because I have been donated the goodwill.
Well, Kat, thank you so much for joining us, and good luck to you and BL13 for the rest of the Zwift Racing League.
Pleasure. We are looking forward to it, and no laughing when I inadvertently go off the front.
Great to hear from Kat again. And I didn't see her go off the front inadvertently too much. I think she did a pretty good job out there today.
I would completely agree. So, all right, Nathan, that was fun. What an interesting person to get to know. Our community just blows my mind at how interesting they are. And I can't wait, Nathan. We were talking about it, or actually, it was a different conversation I was having, but the Zwift Community Live coming up in Majorca. It'll be really fun to get to meet a lot of the folks that we've only been able to race with virtually up till now. So, Zed's son. You found here's a team that knows how to race their bikes in a team time trial. A lot of time in WTRLs on Thursdays, Nathan. So out on the same course, you probably saw the preview at the start of the women's race, but right around 33K with 78 meters of climbing. This is a perfect team time trial course. You're right, though, Nathan. I'm going to go ahead and take back what I was saying. It is a little on the long side, I'd say, but there's some teams that appreciate that.
They only have 5 riders here, but I'm seeing that there are 6 in total. Interesting here. Maybe one had fallen off. 1, 2, 3, 4.
And now they're attacking.
Oh, Siri is off the back here. Pritchard, interesting. 34 seconds. I wonder if something happened. A technical, some sort of an issue here.
Yeah, Carrie Pritchard was a guest of ours just a couple of weeks ago. A former professional, tons of experience. This is a huge surprise.
It is. He's one of the strongest riders, too. There must have been something that happened here. So sorry to see that with Carrie as he's pushing on 64 kilometers per hour. We can see the speed differentiation. We'll see what he can hold on to. They're not going to wait up for him, though. They lose if they wait up. So he's just got to chase.
Boy,
like a madman.
And Nathan, he's the kind of guy that you wait up for. Right. So the fact that they're not, which I completely understand and agree with you, but it just shows you that he must have, I don't want to speculate, but they would have waited if he was just dangling a couple seconds
if there was
back.
Exactly.
Right.
If there was just some sort of little issue, it would have been a totally different story, but I have a feeling something major had happened there as we jump in this is going to be No Pins R3R now.
I was almost going to say another team with 5 there for a moment, but we saw the rush back into the peloton here. That was a good example there of you can start with a plan and an order, but things will improvising is a good word for what you need to do out here. I think that rider, just a good example of the Zwift craft and momentum and all the things you're up against out here. When you see a team doing it perfectly, it looks so much easier than it is, Nathan. I know that holds true with almost every professional sport or, anything that requires expertise. When you see an expert doing it, it doesn't look so challenging. But I think team time trialing is a great example of that. But Nathan, calling up our team league standings here. This is the EMEA West Southern A1. And Zed Sunderpants, pretty similar to Aonian, with a 3-point advantage in the women's race. Same thing here for the men. 3 points over No Pins R3R. But then it's only 1 point back to D-Pack Elite. The Mutants there, just a few more points back at 39, sitting in 4th. The new Outboard team, they've been fun to watch and really competitive. 36 points is where they sit in 5th, with Wahoo Esports in 6th right now. It's then Sisu, BZR, Art, Sunrise, and Velociraptors there. But I think the real story is going to be, can Zed Sunderpants maintain domination? Maybe domination's overdoing it a little bit, but a healthy lead coming into the back 9 of Season 2 here for the ZRL.
Yeah, and this is going to change up maybe a little bit because of the reality of only having 5. And No Pins, they're a good team. They know what they're doing when it comes to team time trial, as you can see. And so that might put a little chink in the armor of Zed's son for this team time trial, because that's usually where they shine. And, not winning. Now, I'm not saying they're not going to win. We'll get these splits coming in here, but we are seeing already maybe something that could put a little bit of wrench of things here for Zedson. I'm going to tell you that usually they take the win outright. Now they are about, we'll get the splits here, but from what I'm seeing right nearby, there's 15 seconds right near is the difference.
All right. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what we've got at that first split. Splits today at 6:12 and 18K. A lot can happen from 18K to the finish line, and we'll see what teams have got their pacing schedules dialed in. Looks like the blimp got a new wrap.
It did 10 years of Zwift. It's good to see. I like all
Yeah,
the new
looking
stuff
good.
in game. It's looking really good. As nice little pull on the front here at 6 watts per kilogram. Tillery Wilkinson here. Now Hagen coming on through. And as we look at these efforts, is there only 5 riders? Is that right?
Yeah. I think they started with 5, actually.
I'm seeing 6 avatars here. What? That's interesting.
Well, you make a really good point.
And so, there's 2 GTRs. Is that why? There's 2 GTRs. There's a GTR Cam and there's a GTR Wilson. And so,
the director is also racing.
It looks like
there it is.
Yeah, interesting to see. So, all together here with 6, and having those 6, it's going to be. You make a really good point. Dave says you make a really good point. There's definitely 6 avatars out there as they make their way over.
As someone who can
first
count to 6, it's hard to
argue with that one.
Yeah, I know that people are into arguing more these days, but I just can't take you on there.
Well, what's happening here? What's the situation? It looks
well,
like.
let's go ahead and take a look at our splits that came in from 6K. You can see that we're already getting that 12K split in from Zed Sunderpants, and now no pins as well. But it was 13 seconds, and it remains 13 seconds between our leaders and second. We'll see if anybody's going to be able to slot in. I think DPAC might be the one team still in contention here in the early going out here in Watopia. When you look down, Nathan, through this list, there's no one team that you would say, well, they're team time trial specialists. These teams are really evenly matched, I would say, out here. I'm not expecting any team to jump up 5 spots like we saw with the level women. And I think that the level women, Nathan, if we were able to delve into that a little more, have probably been racing on Thursdays every week for the last couple of months and clearly putting in the time in their team time trial, and it paid off big time out here today.
Yeah, will we see massive differences? Look how consistent this is, though, between all of these. It's a good point. Now here between Art, Belgian Zwift Riders, and Mutant Y here, we've only got a few seconds. Then there's a little bit of a jump to DPAC, and then no pins RTR, Zed Sunderpants. Now that 13 seconds Zed Sunderpants went out really fast, it seems like. But the consistency between Zed Sun and no pins is the thing that I'm wondering, when do you crack a little bit? It's that race of attrition, and will they see a little bit of an edge back of that time as they get in the back end of this race?
I think, Nathan, that the real story is missing Kerry Pritchard. What's going to happen for Zed Sunderpants? He's a huge engine, a cornerstone on that team. So if they're able to hold on and win without Kerry, put a star next to that win, because it was done under exceptionally trying circumstances. No pins, I wouldn't be too surprised. So you pay a price for not having Kerry with you in the back half of the race, not as much in the front half. We'll see if Zed Sunderpants can overcome that, tough situation for them. But no pins out there. They might be on their day today, and everybody needs a little bit of luck as well.
Jumping in with DPAC Elite, one of the stronger teams as well out here. We've been seeing them very dominant when it comes to the team tactics, playing their cards, especially last week in New York. Ed Morgan is here. Pettinger, we're seeing Liban, newer name. David Pacheco is here. Good to see him as he makes his way off the front, and we get a little roll through speed from Liban of DPAC Elite.
Wait, this is a team on paper that you expect big things from out here today, talking about DPAC, Nathan. I mean, Fabian Devola on this squad, and it looks like they're starting to turn the screws a little bit as they got a teammate who's bearing down on it now, just trying to hold on to that wheel. They don't have much wiggle room. They're going to need to make a call on this one right now, whether they want to keep 5 together or go on with 4. Pretty early in the race to soldier on with 4. I think that in this situation, Nathan, I'm going to back off and keep him with us for sure.
Yeah, and it looks to me like Fabian Devola, excuse me, that was going to be Pacheco, who is off the back there for just a moment. They're able to get him back involved, so nicely done. It was now his heart rate though. Where's the heart rate of Pacheco here now at this point? Up into 173. That should have came down a few beats at this point, right? If they did that, if the sink and sprint was done in a way that was helpful to his rest, but now he's got to kick again over this is where you've got to feather things to make sure that people are not just wasting effort to keep the speed high, but to continue on at the front.
Yeah, you're shooting yourself in the foot, right? Because you're making an effort, but when you drop your teammate, you have to pay that back with interest. So you gain a little bit of time, but it's a false flag because immediately you realize that, well, we're only 3 here, and that's exactly what's happening. So DPAC finding the limits of how fast this team can travel right now.
Who's off the back here now? And this is all just from speed. This was speed, roll throughs, and, you know, a little bit of feathering could have changed things up here. Now they've really got to slow down. And see, this is where the time is lost. These kind of moments where everybody, there's no straight line at the front. They've got to sit up. That rider behind here is working so hard for so less speed because the reality is these bikes, they get up to speed and they hold the speed. That's kind of how they work a little bit different. Like you can really just hold on to a consistency with an effort that's pretty the same all the way through when it comes to the speed you can hold on to. Once you slow them down, getting them back up to speed, it's a little more difficult than the other bikes.
So, and Nathan, that's a really astute point because where you get into trouble is the accelerating and decelerating all the time because that is not what these bikes are built for. They're built for holding a high speed, not going up to speed and then back down and up again. That's not how it works.
Well, they did bring it all back together, but at what cost is going to be the big question.
I'm amazed that they are at 6, to tell you the truth. So let's see what they can do here in the back half. We're going to get a good feel as there we are. Thank you, Nathan. These splits are up. And, yeah, I mean, DPAC, for all the stress that they've been going through, still holding on to 3rd spot at a 19:39 as they lose a little bit of time to no pins R3R. But is Mutant getting closer? Not really. That gap has remained. Well, Mutant is climbing up the table right now. It's starting to look like, though. They're sitting now in 4th here with a 1954. I don't know that any other team's going to come in under 20 minutes at that 12K split.
Outboard. Nicely done by climbing 2 spots. You do see Wahoo Esports Team Arrow moving up 3 spots. Sisu Racing Makota at a 20:45.
Well,
ART falling, but that's only because they don't have their time yet.
So
yep.
I was just going to say every team is moving up, so somebody's got to be moving down.
Well, where's ART is going to be the big question. Oh, there's Belgian Zwift Riders coming on in at 19:53.
Whoa, now that's noteworthy. Solid from them. I wasn't anticipating seeing anyone coming in under 20, so that's a big ride from BZR, the Eagles 3.
Jumping with the Mutant boys as they make their way past down this is an interesting section, of course, actually, if we have a little conversation about the way that has to be written, because you're coming off of the dirt. And if you do a little bit of an acceleration right there, you can actually take some speed onto the pavement that you either have it or you don't through that section. And if you come off kind of chill, you end up not ramping up as quickly and you don't carry as much speed through this entire section. If you come off that downhill with a little bit more punch, off of the dirt because the dirt slows you down, you can carry speed then through this whole section for free, actually, at an extra 1 to 2 kilometers per hour. And that's significant when it comes to the end result on this course.
5 now for the Mutants. Precision, the name of the game on a course like this. We take a look at Fawcett. Going to try to reset things here, I would think. Get the 5 back together. As happening right in front of our eyes here.
How many we got? 5, is it then, with Mins?
Now, does he finish his pull and slot right in? Ouch.
Yeah, off the back. Ouch. Yeah, didn't slot right. That's the timing thing too. What we have in a lot of our TTTs will have somebody at the back who the person who is at the back, who's the tail gunner, and the next person sinking and sprinting, when they're about halfway through, up, come on, up. Okay, they give them a little warning, because then it's like you're sinking, but then you're getting your speed up just enough, but you don't interfere. So it's this perfect timing. There's a little communication, but if you don't get that communication right, don't time it right, you can end up in these situations where you burn another match just trying to hang on as Kenny's going to take them over. The 2-tier here at the front.
Yeah, I mean, it's threading that needle, isn't it, Nathan? The precision. That's what we've been talking about in team time trialing. It's subtle, makes a huge difference.
Mins to the front.
One of the more challenging sectors right through here, Nathan.
It is. It's a tough one because if people are on the limit, you want to gain time. You carry speed over the top of those little punches, and it gets flattened out here, and that speed's going to be really important. But if you punch a little too hard, people are suffering. They've got to match your watts per kilogram. A lot of times what we do is we say, hey, we're going to climb at this, and we have like a set number. We'll climb at 5. We'll climb at 6, or whatever it might be for watts per kilogram, because you know everybody can at least match or be just a little bit under that. If you really punch it, a lot of times that's where things get difficult. If you're going to 7 or 8, people got to try and essentially follow an attack, and then you just got everybody in the hurt locker. So
yeah,
you know,
and in my opinion, Nathan, the only time that you really should be air quotes punching it is in the sink and sprint.
Yeah, the sink and sprint, and then the finish line. Essentially, it's just a lead out.
Right.
To the
okay.
finish
And
line,
the
right?
finish line.
That's about it.
I'll agree with that. But other than that, if you find yourself in sprint mode again, it's not going right out there.
From a physiological point of view, if you put the coaching hat on just a little bit for a moment too, the amount of sugar that you're burning, the amount of your nitric oxide,
your burn rate,
yeah, what you have for those for those longer efforts,
like the super fuel.
Yeah, and you can kind of just open up that super fuel a little bit throughout the entirety. Just kind of open the cap a little bit. You're just kind of letting the
like the nitrous tank, right? You can touch it every now and then. Can't burn it the whole time.
It's kind of like if it's a real 1-to-1 in the analogy, it's kind of just opening up a soda pop and letting the carbon out little by little throughout the entirety of the race. When you do that sprint, you're just opening it up right away, and you're kind of letting all of it out at one moment instead. And so you want it to be this slow burn of that. But when you do those sprints, it's letting out a ton of that each time. You don't got any left at the end of for the entirety of the race. So keeping those sprints down, it's very important for the energy levels.
It's kind of like, Nathan, that's a good analogy just to dovetail on that. Maybe like a house that's been heated up to a comfortable temperature. Every time you open up the door, you let a little heat out. But if you open up the screen door, you're letting all the heat out.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. It's a good one here. Now, look at this. 29:05. They've opened up a second, actually, with 5. This is impressive. I was thinking maybe this wouldn't be happening for them out there today. When it comes to Zed Sunderpants, we can see the solo rider Carey just soldiering on.
Carey.
He's soldiering on. I mean, this is amazing.
What I'm going to be interested, does Carey's time alone today beat any teams? Probably. There's a decent shot that Carey solo is faster than some of our 8th, 9th, 10th place teams today.
He was caught by the No Pins team as they make their way over. we can take another look at them real quickly here as we're back in with John Archibald. We're being told that he's a very good time trialist in the UK, actually, John Archibald, as he goes to the back end of this.
Going to have to check in on exactly how good for John Archibald. Certainly encouraging, though.
We're in with Team Velos now, as they're making their way around for their first time through the Essies. And this is a long one out here today, Dave, isn't it? I mean, this is a no-joke time trial. You've got to really manage your effort with how long this one is for all the riders. And I think a lot of these teams are getting a little bit of surprise for how long this one is.
I completely agree, Nathan. Going back to John Archibald, that was a really good heads up. John Archibald competed in the men's individual pursuit at the 2018 Commonwealth Games, and he reached the final, winning the silver medal. And these are nations Commonwealth Games that they know their track racing. As a matter of fact, I think track racing there's not going to be a road event at the next Commonwealth Games. It's only going to be track cycling there. But double British champion after winning the individual pursuit championship in Britain. So absolutely, now we know John Archibald is a legend.
Well, this is going to be Velos here. Good pickup by chat there, letting us know about John Archibald. Why is
That's what chat is for.
That is what chat is for. They always catch it, don't they? Team Velos here. Good to see them out here. They've all been showing up consistently, racing against some of the strongest teams in the world. It looks like they know what they're doing. Team Velos. I like the kit in game. I remember when it was put in, and I got a message actually about this. We were covering team time trials on Thursday, actually, when we first heard of this team. And loving what they've done here with this kit. Definitely stands out.
Yeah, really, really slick, for sure. John's sister is Katie Archibald, who I was watching on TV this weekend at the UCI track events that are going on. One of the best British track racers on the planet, or racing today.
Let's go ahead and move forward with SRT as we jump in with them. This is going to be another one of the top teams out here in the, a little bit interesting here. SRT, Sunrise Racing Team. Love the name. And they look pretty organized here as well. They've done their homework as the pull through comes in from D Speed at the front.
All right, taking a look now at, on a day like today, keeping your focus throughout this 36K really becomes a challenge. You're in the hurt locker the entire time. It's a big part.
Are we talking about the riders? Who are we talking about here? The riders?
I think everybody.
Holmes.
But they've cracked the code.
They have. They've done a good job. I like what I'm seeing here from the team as SRT make their way through. Where are they all from? Mainly, it looks like, mainly all coming out of the UK.
Not a surprise. They're railing it out here right now.
Is this 4 riders or is it 5? I think I can count 5.
5.
Yeah, it's going to be 5. We're missing one on the lower boards there, but now on the front here, 5.3 watts coming from Hunter, all climbing at about 5 or so. A little bit of kick up into the 460s there coming from Luke Holmes as the heart rates go up into the 182 for Holmes, as I believe he was the rider that was just leading things out there for a moment. Let's go ahead and see if we can get some more splits coming on in as things start to update here. And we've got Zed Sunderpants with 5K to go at 29.05. No Pins R3R at 29.19. Deepak Elite 29.46. Mutant have jumped up a little bit there to 30.01. Belgian Zwift Riders Eagles 3:30.18. Outboard now jumping up a little bit. Wahoo Esports, Sisu, Art, and waiting for Art and Velos still to come on through as we're in with this SRT team.
Outboard and BZR, just a couple seconds different, or 3 seconds difference there. And they're still within striking distance of Atomic Racing Team. The Quarks, they're sitting up in 5th. I mean, it's not over. No pins R3R. This is where, Nathan, it's a big gap from 18K to the finish. I mean, that's 18K. That 18K check is basically the midpoint of the race. So will Zed Sunderpants, losing Kerry Pritchard, they're going to pay a price for that out here? I mean, yes, they're going to pay a price for it. Is the price steep enough that No Pins is able to make up 14 seconds over the last 18K? It's in play, without any doubt.
Yeah, and we'll see if we can find them out on course actually, because that's going to tell us a lot of information. We're in with now Zed Sun, looking good still, steady. They really haven't given up much of anything, even with losing Kerry Pritchard. Now Kerry's probably kicking himself a little bit about what happened there, but Zed Sun still pulling this off. Wood to the front. Now we can see Taft taking over. Still 5. Nicely done here from Zed Sun. Where are No Pins R3R? When will they come into the conversation? We'll get that riders nearby list, because that'll also give us a little bit of information about where they're at. They're not even in the picture yet, though, it looks like, as these riders are making the way at 454 watts, 5.1 watts per kilogram. That tells you a lot about the kind of riders these are.
Yeah.
These are riders that just are pure rulers, pure big men TTT.
Yeah, this team is really well matched. And I mean, Nathan, it is fair to say, in my opinion, that going from 6 to 5 is sub-ideal, but it's nowhere close to the problem that going from 5 to 4 is. So I think that they realized their situation, they locked it down, and they rode like real professionals out here. They got the job done. So the proof will be in the pudding at the finish line. But I think with the buffer that they had and the focus that they've been able to keep, I mean, this
it's been
team
really
does
consistent.
not look,
it has not changed. Look at this. It has not changed. 15 seconds. It's been at that set 75 all the way through. 74, 75. It has not budged on that rider nearby list. This has been just from the get-go. They got that time and then just stuck it there.
And they're down to 5 back behind as well, right? So that advantage is gone.
Yeah, even with the burned match of one of the riders here, unable to close it down. Well played by Zed Sun out here today.
Yeah, doing just enough to keep the Wolves at bay out here, it looks like. They did have a 3-point advantage coming into this 4th race of this season. So it's looking like it might go to 4.
Kerry's still out there. Look at Kerry. Oh, man. Kerry Pritchard still out here soloing it. What a man. Nicely job. I mean, this guy.
We were talking about athletes, getting your workout in. Kerry does not shy away from that.
No, irrepressible. Irrepressible.
Yeah.
He just continues on. And that kind of goes along with the the ride that we heard about from Kat Morrison. Saying, okay, you got a technical, had an issue, continue on and end up with a good result. Well, you have a good result for the team. The team obviously taking the win, it looks like, out here today, as well as you have an amazing workout. So at least the motivation. Sometimes I get really motivated by when things like that happen, actually, to just throw down some watts, actually.
Yeah, it definitely defines who you are. And I would think that, a majority of riders would pull the pin and say, well, that's that. I'm not going to go out and ride a full team time trial by myself today, but not Kerry. That's for sure. This is Kerry's team that we're looking at, Zed Sun, as they are rolling it into the finish line. Overcoming adversity, going to be a big part of bike racing, and that's what they were able to do today, it looks like. Don't want to get the cart out in front of the horse, but it looks like they've held on for a really, really strong win, and especially considering the circumstances.
Yeah, and right from the get-go, having somebody off the back and be able to grab 15 seconds from the get-go too. They must have went out crazy hard at the start. To gain 15 seconds in the first 6K,
well, they gained a minute.
What kind of a sprint do you need to have to do that?
Well, if you look back on that first split, it's not quite a minute, but it's close. In 6K, they put 54 seconds on another team out here. Well, let's see how close I am. Yeah. It's more like a minute. It's right at 57 seconds that they were able to put into a team sunrise in 6 kilometers. That's really going out hard. And then being able to settle into a rhythm and keep that gap, as you've noted, throughout the race, even till this very moment. They're going to be finishing here in less than a minute now.
Old tilt boogie, that's for sure. Jumping back in with no pins. They're going to finish up in just a moment here as well, up against the team we were just looking at. And it looks like it's going to be second place, most likely, for the no pins team. As GTR Cam toward the back of this now as we finish up with 5, it looks like. Now, this is what we were talking about, the final matches, the big kick to the line. This is when it just turns into lead-out train after lead-out train. You only need 4 across the line. A lot of times you'll just have one last suicide pull, and then one man's going to try and sprint to the line. The rest kind of come around as you just fall over.
And that's what John is doing right now here on the front, perfectly suited to it. We had a thank you again for the heads up there, Chris Smart, as this certainly stands out as a world-class professional cyclist Zwifter. And Nathan, he's going to do what you were saying, just taking that one long monster pull, except for in John Archibald's case, he won't drop himself.
Up into 6.5 watts per kilogram. Orange numbers should start kicking from these riders if they have anything left. You can see on the right-hand side where their zones are at next to their names. Lots of red now throwing down all around here as it's going to be Wilson, Archibald, Hagen, Liam Bard, GTR Cam is all there. And nicely done. Up into 50 kilometers per hour for that final couple of meters. Back in with Deepak. As it's going to be Leiben, Morgan, Devola, Pettinger, Aiken, I know Aiken's riding for Mutant. So how many do we got here now? Is it going to be 5? Still with 5. Okay,
it's
good on
5,
them. Yeah, Collard is the one I missed.
They were in pretty good position to hold on to a third place spot out here. This is Deepak that we're talking about as they're bringing it on home. So Kerry is going to give up, what is that going to be, 2 minutes then?
Yeah, interesting. I definitely want to see what his finishing time is and what.
He's not that far back, all things considered.
With 40 right on, he's got plenty of people liking what he's doing. That's for sure.
I'm one of them. That's for sure. Open up my companion app, hit him with the ride on for sure.
That better go to 41. Today. Better see that now, Dave.
Oh man, I gotta hustle.
I saw you've been riding, Dave.
Yeah, I'm back on it, man. Got my Zwift ride going, and I'm loving it.
You're talking about the plays being a huge game changer for you as well?
I love them. Yeah, it's truly one of those things that until you experience it, it levels up the experience in a major way. I've got to get this ride on in here. I missed him. He finished.
Oh, man.
I'm not quick enough.
He went for it. Dave was like on it. He was trying to get Oh, man. I like it. Back in with Mutant now. Rich Min's leading things out. We're back into the final couple of meters of everybody's race as we see them ramp things up. It's always one of my favorite parts of the TTT scene. Everybody ramp things up, get into that final mode, the excitement of what is the time going to be. You know, there is when I'm in the experience of the team time trial and it's these final moments and it's kind of like you're coming to this, what can I get out of the race against the clock in a sprint? It changes things up a little bit in that final kick of every little moment mattering, every millisecond mattering in a different way. And there's a new aggression that kind of comes out of me personally.
Well, I would think, Nathan, that the fact that you're not just racing for yourself, but for others, helps people find that last little bit to squeeze out of their effort.
That's actually really true, because in a situation where you're leading things out and your sprint isn't just for you first across the line, it's more about just everybody getting across the line as fast as you can, it does change the way that you do that kick. It changes the way you come into that kick, and you actually completely bury the needle. I mean, there's nothing left. The gas tank is empty at the end of these.
Yeah, I am sure that sports psychologists would echo everything that you're saying here as we bring the Mutants across the line. This is
a
going to be
team we didn't
Outboard,
jump
correct?
with them yet today. No, this is this is one of the teams that we definitely have been highlighting. Maybe we'll get a conversation with these guys. I want to know about these boars. I want to know what's going on with the boar.
A breakthrough team. They've been in a very strong group here and more than held their own. They look fantastic right now as we pick them up in the last charge to the finish.
I want to know what's up with this canyon. Using the canyon here, interesting enough, instead of the Cadex, the one solo canyon rider must just prefer that there.
I'm going to guess that he actually owns Canyon bikes.
Or he couldn't afford the other bike.
So it's one of the two. It's an insanely strong brand loyalty or a drops issue.
A drops issue. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
One or the other. That's I think is what's going to be happening there. Or he's just going to be like, I just picked a TT bike, guys.
Or he's like, you can choose your bike. What?
Finishing up here with OUT. Outboards kicking it to the line. Here we go. And WAH, good to see Anderson. He actually posted a little video of winning a race the other day. I saw
that.
Yeah. So a nice one from Christopher Anderson up into 6.3 watts per kilogram. That's a solid pull here coming in this little bit of a downhill section and flattening out as we head into the final four. The Wahoo team.
Our man Mafatarik there. Lifting the pace a little bit more for the finale for our Wahoo friends here.
See if we can get a little bit of information for us here. 4407, 4424, 4453. Now, see, there's this weird thing going on with 7th place. I don't know what's going on with 7th place.
Strange.
But, 7th place just likes to, that's not right. I don't know what's going on
There's some data glitch.
Yeah. That someone's just getting, because they're actually in fourth. So we're gonna back off on showing these because I do not want anybody to get the wrong idea. Zed's Underpants for sure, and No Pins R3R for sure are exactly where they should be. But the data that we have coming through is
got the D-Pack.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry because you just said you wanted to leave the screen, but only 6 seconds separating third and fourth today. It looks like.
Yeah, the time should be right. Just the order is
that
not
should
correct
be good.
there. Apologies on that, everybody. We don't know. We get the data in, and then it is what it is. So we'll wait and see what we can get otherwise. But we'll finish things out here for Wahoo as they make their way across the line. Then maybe BCR, and we'll call it a day here as we wait for some more of the results to come on through. Nice little kick to the line here coming in from Wahoo.
I'm curious who this guy's been watching for a couple hours, standing there. About 100
Little
meters
did you
before
know
the finish
this
line.
is Inception because that's actually us.
Oh, that's us. Oh.
That's you, Dave. That's actually you, just so you know.
That got pretty meta on me there.
These guys got
that's me
6.
looking at
Nicely
myself.
done right to this point. All the way to this point. Nicely done from the BZR Eagles.
And actually, by the fact that they're dropping one rider right now, that tells me that they rode not the perfect race, but they certainly had their act together. As that's a good indicator, as they're in full-on sprint mode to the finish.
They're
now.
dying. Those back two were done. They were so done, Dave. And they've got one little kick to the line from TV here at 7 watts per kilogram saying, come on, boys, this is it. You can tell there's not much left in the tank from this team. They have buried themselves.
They went full Belgian mode, no doubt about it, as they're down to it with only 4, but this was all planned. Eking every last watt out of this effort out here. A long day, 36K, triple loops, just about done and dusted for BZR. The Eagles are flying home to nest. See if they can find that top 6 today.
Yeah, nicely done from the BZR Eagles. And see if we can bring in just a little bit of results. Hopefully we've got something with this final table. Show it one last time. And Zed's Underpants at the top looks like, then followed up by D-Pack and No Pins RPR for the top 3. And it looks like things corrected a little bit here. and 44.59 for Mutant Y. Then it's going to be 45.35 for Belgian Zwift Riders Eagles Outboard there. 44.540 and a 46.10 for Wahoo Esports. Still some riders out on course as they're finishing things up, but nicely done all across the board.
Yeah, our second team time trial of the season, and Zed Sunderpants going to go 2 for 2 out here. Not a big surprise, Nathan. The top team time trial teams have a distinct advantage in the ZRL. It's all well earned, but if you're not good at this, it makes up a third of each season at this point, and it is really, really hard to pick up enough points to overcome the top squads in this discipline through the whole season. So if you can't team time trial well, it's going to be really, really tough to find the top of the table after 6 races.
That's been a question, a conversation and a question that I think pops into a lot of people's minds is, how do I get better at team time trials? You got 2 team time trials. There's a lot of formats across. You got to be good at every kind of format within the Zwift Racing League. Thursdays is the place you show up for that, right? It's not like you only have the opportunity a single time every week, right? Or twice every season in the ZRL. You have a slot every single week that you can jump into a TTT. It's a lot easier as far as the registration goes. Just show up, get it going, and team time trial, definitely something you can practice on a weekly basis.
Boy, I mean, obviously training and being fit in cycling is huge. But as far as experience goes, there is no event of all of the disciplines where doing your homework, working as a unit together before you show up at the start line has an impact. I mean, that's what team time trialing is all about, getting synced up with your other riders. We've talked a lot about that today, about not having to hit the panic button, having a plan B and a plan C, and knowing when you improvise that this is how we improvise. And we saw that from Aeonian out here today. We saw it from Zed Sunderpants. And there's some teams like Nathan, I bet you that on this Thursday, you'll see the Level Wasps racing on WTRL, I have a feeling.
That was a breakthrough ride from them. I was extremely impressed by the Level Wasps, that's for sure. Obviously, Aeonian walking away from this, you know, the reality of these top teams in the team time trial, there's a reason for it. And I know it's something I go on and on about, but it's not necessarily intuitive, I don't think, that the team time trial would be the most tactical, technically tactical race that you have out here. Technically, right? You can have a lot of tactics in a scratch race, a lot of tactics in a points race. It's a lot more dynamic, but you have a lot of control about the technique within a team time trial. And so because of all that control, I really hammer on that one because it is mad. And I see a lot of people just kind of show up and roll and feel like it's more of an exercise competition day. It couldn't be further from the truth, in my opinion.
I completely agree. I mean, I think, Nathan, really, you know, there's strategy and then there's tactics, right? And strategy about how we're going to approach this and looking at what's our best bet on scheduling for these splits. And that really is where the homework is done. Tactics are that's responding in the moment, right? Do I cover that move or not? And out here, it's if you don't do your homework, if you're not like, to get back to your point, Nathan, if you just show up when they make you show up for team time trials and think you're ever going to get better at this, you won't. You really won't. You're going to have to show up and work specifically on this in a non-competitive environment and then start ratcheting it up. That's really probably the best advice you can give to the teams racing in the D's or the C's is do your work on Thursdays. That's what WTRL is all about.
Yeah, it's a great point. And there isn't much more of a if you're a competitive person, there isn't a much more frustrating situation than a team time trial that's going awry. Then because you're both at that high level, stress, competitive, what's going on, heart rates are high, and whoo, those Discord channels can get interesting, that's for sure. So showing up prepared is important.
The only way you could make it worse is if you added heat training into team
we
time
have a
trialing.
saying in our house, whatever we said during heat training doesn't count. Well, next
you should
week,
add that to team time trialing, to tell you the truth. As you know,
true.
what happens in the team time trial stays at the team time trial.
That's a good
right?
one. That's a good one. Well, no team time trial next week. We've got race number 5. It's a points race. Same time, same place. Points race on the Keith Hill after party. A couple sprints up front in the lower parts of the Greater London area, and then they're going to head on over to the Keith Hill and make your way up to the top. So that's what's going to be happening next week. Make sure to join us here. Same time, same place. Well, Dave, it's always a great day here for Team Time Trials. We get to have a little bit longer broadcast today, but really, really enjoyed it. But we'll be here, everybody, next week. Same time, same place for the Zwift Racing League for race number 5. As always, from Dave and I really appreciate all of you, and ride on.